All right, thanks for coming back. This is Jeremiah again with the Bigfoot Society podcast, and I have the privilege tonight of chatting with Koko. You may know her as StrangeLittleLands, and she does amazing things, dioramas really, that are, all about the paranormal and cryptids. It's very, very cool stuff. But Koko, would you mind spending a few minutes kind of introducing yourself and what it is that you do?
Absolutely. I'm from Wisconsin. My whole life, I've lived in a
Okay.
few other places, California, New York, but my home is here in Wisconsin. And Go Packers, I guess. I don't know. But yeah, the I've always been interested in high strangeness,
Mm.
cryptids. Growing up, my parents were always the kind that were open to anything. Anything's possible. So,
Okay.
they kind of instilled that in my brother and I at an early age. And my dad was always the explorer, kind of, would take us out on adventures and stuff. So it was always kind of part of us. And yeah, I started these dioramas probably 4 years ago. Um,
Mm.
and really, my inspiration, I guess, was just anything miniature is cute. And, I've
Mhm.
seen other like true crime, which I love true crime. I've seen true crime dioramas where they replicate crimes or any kind of just murder scenes, I guess. And I thought those were cool. But I'm like, I've never seen them done based around high strangeness, Bigfoot. And I love that stuff. So I thought, I'm going to start doing it. And that's really just how it started, was just this idea I had. And then from there, I just started teaching myself how
Okay.
to make these little dioramas. Um, I mainly work in HO scale, which for the people familiar with model trains, that's the most popular scale.
Mm.
It's 187th.
Okay.
That's what it is. So that's mainly, I'll dabble in some O, which is bigger and whatever, but I mainly really try to stick to HL scale.
Mm, interesting. Okay, so I didn't know that there's a whole thing behind this where you're actually everything is supposed to be a certain size. Like that's
Right.
very cool. Yeah.
Yeah. That
Wow.
is the challenge as well, though, as far as finding the things that I need in the correct scale. I mean, obviously, it's, you can kind of use your imagination, so it doesn't have to be perfect. But for the most part, I try to stick to HO scale, that 187th, as much as I can.
Very cool. Very cool. Do you have a favorite piece that you have worked on over the last 4 years?
Oh gosh. That's a good question. Probably anything with UFOs, UFO
Hmm.
abductions. I've only
Okay.
done a small number of those because I have issues again finding UFOs that I like,
Hmm.
that'll work for it in the scale that I want. Because you can find toys anywhere, but that's not what I'm looking for. Um, so that's been a big challenge of mine. And I know people love the abduction ones with the UFO. So I'm really trying to
Yeah.
find more that'll work for me. But yeah, I would say those. And of course, Bigfoot.
Hmm.
I
Yeah.
love working, I love making forest scenes. As you can probably tell by the majority of my dioramas are based in a forest or something to do with lots of trees.
Yes.
So I love doing that. I love doing the ground and just adding everything in those scenes because everything is added, by me, by hand. So
Oh, okay. So what is it? What do you kind of like, let's say you're starting the process. Well, man, there's a lot of questions I could go with this. So let's take, for example, one piece that you did that I really like is you did a special piece for Seth from
oh,
Seth
sure.
Breedlove, right? And that was
Hmm.
the Sleepy Hollow
Yes. Yeah.
kind of church with a graveyard type
Right.
deal.
Right. Yeah.
How long did that take?
Oh my God.
Yeah.
That that took a long time. The good thing was that it wasn't a rush piece because Seth is
Okay.
really cool. Just whenever you get it done,
Hmm.
which is great because for me sometimes I have issues visualizing things. So I really, if I can, I like to take my time and just kind of you know work on it as it comes to me rather than rushing it just to get it done. I want it to feel
Hmm.
right. Um, so yeah, with his, there were a couple things I know he wanted, which was a church, which he actually helped me pick out. I sent him different churches in HO scale and he picked the one he liked best. And then of course the headless horseman. So those were the two things
Yes.
I knew I had to put in there besides the cemetery. So I start with finding all of the figures, anything that I need for the scene. And then once I have everything, then I just start kind of placing loosely where I think they want to be. It all starts on a piece of foam. And then I paint the foam, and then I add the ground cover. So it's just kind of a working up. I'll cut the foam to the size of the display case or whatever I'm using it in, and then I just kind of work my way up from there. So Seth's was actually a layered thing, and I did the base first, and then I figured out where I wanted the church, and I knew I wanted the cemetery around the church, and then figuring out if I wanted the fence to go all the way around the outside of the diorama, or if I wanted it just around the church. And I liked it better. I mean, just around the church, around that cemetery.
Yeah.
So it's just, those things of figuring out where feels best to put everything. And then just slowly going from there, and adding all the little things like the little crows and spiders on the church and the vines and everything. And then the light, and I'm just starting to work with lights. I'm really trying to get more into lights right now. So yeah.
That's cool.
It was fun. That one was a ton of fun to make. I love every one I make, but that one was awesome. I really enjoyed it. And then that church too, every rock on there I hand glued on, because I wanted it, the real church is a stone church. He sent me images of it. And that when I got it, it wasn't stone. So, but I love doing that little stuff, adding the uniqueness to it. So
I think those details are what sets anything apart. So, so you're going to like, maybe websites or stores where it's like model train supplies, and you're like, oh, that church is really cool. That church is cool. And then you're picking it out from there. But then you're like, are you like hot glue gunning like little rocks to the church then, or?
For that one, I used, it's extra extreme, like Elmer's glue. Elmer's glue is awesome. I use that for stuff. So that was used with Elmer's extreme glue. And that church I actually got online. There's one train store in Green Bay, which is about 40 minutes from us. And it's huge. They have tons of stuff in there. But the majority of my stuff I get online, because there's just not a lot of model train stores,
True.
So, and some hobby stores, there's hobby stores where I can get some things, but most of my figures, my little people and everything, I get either at the train store in Green Bay or I get online.
Okay. That's cool. That's cool. I like the detail in that piece where I believe you have Seth's name on one of the gravestones, right? Maybe I made that up, but up. Oh boy.
I can't understand right.
Let's try again. Yeah. You gotta love how the internet is in and out these days.
Yeah.
So on the gravestone of one of your on Seth's piece, you actually have Seth's name, right?
Oh yeah, I wrote Breed Love. Yeah. Those things are fun too.
Funny.
I use a little pin and just dipped it in black ink. It actually has his birth year running across. That's a little harder to see than the 1981. But yeah, nice. Those things too, I'm making a commissioned piece. If there's any way I can make it even more personal to the person, I'll try that. And like, I don't know if you know T. Krulos, an author here in Milwaukee. He just published a book called American Madness, and he reached out to see if I could recreate a specific scene from this book, which I was thrilled to do. But yeah, stuff like that. It had this little, the main guy in the book, and it's a true story. I actually had a little figure, and I hand painted him with a needle too, because this guy, he's called the Phantom Patriot, and he wears this outfit. So I painted that with a needle and tried to get it as close as I could to the guy. So yeah, stuff like that is That's really enjoyable. Yeah.
Have you ever looked into, I had a lot of buddies in college where they would play games that had like miniatures, like Warhammer and stuff. Have you ever looked into like, I don't know, maybe that would probably be totally different than what you're doing, but like to get like supplies from stuff like that, that would probably be more like space and and
Well,
stuff. But
like war games, like there's some companies that make really awesome ground cover or like
oh,
ground puffs for war games. So yeah, that's actually a good source for things. Been a few things that I bought that's made for gaming like that. And then even in some of the hobby shops, they have like those weird looking creatures
mm-hmm.
for games like that you can play. I got a couple of those, but I don't think I've used those. But actually, for ground cover and little details, that is a good source to find some stuff.
Very nice, very nice. I am looking at my question sheet real quick. Um, oh, so I asked for questions. We'll kind of sprinkle them in as we go
Yeah.
along. So Cryptid Chat Girl wants to know, what was it that kind of got you crafting? Is there any backstory regarding your crafting? You kind of alluded to it, that it's been a work in progress as you go along.
Yeah, there isn't really one thing, it's just one of those things that just kind of organically happened, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Again, being fascinated by high strangeness, and I watch shows on high strangeness and pretty much every show out there, and books, so it's just such a fascination that it just happened organically.
Mm.
Just to kind of get more into the world of high strangers, because I don't go ghost hunting, I don't do anything, I don't go searching for
Okay.
cryptid. So I guess this was maybe just a different way to bring that world of high strangeness to me by making
Okay.
my own. Yeah.
But you are going to like different conferences and stuff
Oh
to
yes,
show
yeah.
off your work, correct? Like,
Right, yeah.
so what are the oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, that's okay. I was
What are
just
the
gonna say
conferences you go to?
um last year was my debut.
Okay.
I've been
Oh,
making
wow.
them for 4 years, but I just started selling them and started my StrangeLittleLands business officially last year. So Cryptid Con in Kentucky was my first one. And I think that was August of last year. And that was, of course, amazing. Everybody there was so kind and really interested in my pieces, which is great because, you do something that you love,
Mm-hmm.
and that doesn't mean that it's going to translate well to the people just because you like it. That doesn't mean
That's
other
true.
people are. You'd hope so, but you don't know. I'm like, I have no idea. But the reception was really great.
Awesome.
Everybody loved looking at them, and it really was. It made me feel like, okay, good. This is something that people do like. That
Yes.
they are receptive to. So yeah, Cryptid Con was my first one, and that was such an amazing experience. And then of course meeting, that was when I first met Seth, and he
Mm-hmm.
actually bought a couple there. And then I met a number of other people in the cryptid world there that attended, which was awesome. And then my one after that was Paracon in Milwaukee.
Okay.
And that's where I met T, the author, and he's super awesome too. I met Emily and Tobias.
Oh, yeah.
Um,
Wayland.
yeah,
Is it
I met
Wayland?
those
Yeah.
too.
Yep.
Yeah, which they're wonderful too. So,
Cool.
and that's, one thing about these conferences is the people are always so awesome. They're so kind and they're just so willing to help in any way they can and just be supportive. And they're so open-minded. You can talk about stuff and this weird stuff that other people just don't get, but it's such a receptive, friendly, warm crowd.
There's no weird judgment, which is
Right,
cool.
exactly.
Right. Yeah, I know
Exactly.
exactly what you're saying.
It's almost like, you have this kindredness with these people, this closeness, even
Mm-hmm.
though you don't know them, but you have this already this bond or something. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah,
uh,
I totally get it. Yeah.
it's such a cool
Yeah.
feeling.
It is.
It's
It
so
really
cool.
is. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, it's I mean, outside of like the conferences I've been to, there's probably just a few, you have that message thread in your phone where you can throw anything in and to your
Mm-hmm.
friends and like, not have to worry about like, oh,
Right.
Jeremiah's gone crazy. He's off the deep
Right.
end, and like,
Sure, yeah, exactly.
yeah.
Yeah.
So it's very important to have
Mm-hmm.
those connections. And I mean, the conferences, like, I'm glad, like, well, I'd say probably half the conferences are going on this year. I know some of them had to shut down, but some of the Bigfoot
Yeah.
conferences are still going on, which is very cool.
Oh, neat.
Um, I'm looking up one other thing real quick because I want to make
Sure.
sure that I say the person's. Yeah. Okay. So a common thread, and this is from Jedi Imposter, who's creator of the new logo. So shout him out
Nice.
multiple hundreds of times. Um, so he wants to know where you get the Sasquatch figures. They are
Those,
cool.
yeah, I order those from my 3D guy. Um,
Oh,
he prints them, and
really?
yeah, there's a couple places. So when I first started this years ago,
Oh,
I went through a 3D printing company,
mhm.
and one of the people, because it's like it's anybody can send their 3D printing to this company, and it's
Okay.
like they're like the middleman. So you
Hmm.
send them with the program, I don't know, and then this company prints it and then ships it
Okay.
out to the customer. So
Ah,
I saw that there were aliens and Bigfoot, and I'm like, oh, that's cool, and it was in the right scale. So I reached out to this woman and I said, hey, I wanted to modify Bigfoot a little bit because he
yeah.
looked a little too, he didn't look as scary as I wanted him to be. So I worked
Uh-huh.
with her and we got that done. And then I found Ed. He's from Supernatural Shack, and he's been awesome. And that's the majority of where I get my stuff now is from him. Even though sometimes I'll still get it from Shapeways, the online printing store. But yeah, typically now I go through Ed, and he's been super awesome too. So he's actually, I reached out to him to see if he could make me a Krampus, if he could make me a headless
Oh, yeah.
horseman, if he could make a night crawler. And he's
Yeah.
been really awesome about doing that
Oh,
too.
man.
So yeah, we have a really good business relationship too, which is great.
Does he have a storefront where you can like hit him up and you can, because I'm sure people are like
Yeah.
going to start Googling like right now and be
Yeah.
like, oh, I want to buy a few Sasquatch figures from this guy, like,
Oh,
does
sure.
he have an
Yeah.
Etsy or
The
whatever?
name of his business is Supernatural Shack.
Okay.
He's on eBay. I don't know if he's on Etsy, but I know for sure that he's on eBay. I think that's how I came across him.
Okay.
So yeah, just Google that and it'll pull right up.
Yeah. Hopefully he gets a lot of
Facebook
business through
too.
this. That'd be
Facebook.
awesome.
Yeah.
Did he supply the Mothman figure? I remember seeing a few pictures of you like putting the red dot eyes on the
Oh, that
Mothman.
one. No, that one was from um, the Shapeways. I ordered through Shapeways. So the ones I
Ah.
get from Shapeways, those come naked where I have to pry and paint them.
Mm-hmm.
The ones I get from Ed, he typically, except for the horsemen, he'll paint them, which is
Oh,
awesome. So it
yeah.
depends where I get them from. Usually the more evil, serious looking ones that come from Shapeways, but the little cutesier ones come from Ed.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That is really, that's good information. So I think that's going to make a lot of people happy that are just wanting a cool
Oh,
Bigfoot
sure.
figure. Like
Yeah,
that's,
they're
it's hard
awesome.
to find good ones.
It is. It is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hmm. Do you have a diorama that you've always wanted to make, but you haven't gotten to make yet?
Actually, there was one, but I just started making it
Oh,
because somebody reached out to me to do two commission pieces. One of them, which is the one that I always wanted to do but hadn't yet, is Skinwalker Ranch. So,
no
because
way.
it's,
Skinwalker Ranch?
yeah,
Oh, shoot.
years ago I was thinking about this. I'm like, I got to do Skinwalker because
Yeah,
it's
you
just
do.
such a cool place. But I didn't really, I just kind of, it was in the back of my head, but I didn't really know how to portray it, especially for people who didn't know what it was. But I'm like, well, what does it really matter? The people that
Yeah.
know, you know. So
Yeah.
he reached out to me and he was kind of going between a couple different things. And then he settled on Skinwalker. I'm like, that's perfect because I've been wanting to do one for years
Mm-hmm.
now. And basically he was the kick in the butt I needed to
Right.
do a Skinwalker one.
Yeah.
So that's actually, I'm looking at it right now. That one,
Oh, man.
I'm currently working on, and I'm so excited for it. Um, and then another one that I really want to do is basically all of the cryptids. So kind of starting in the snowy
Oh.
mountains with Yeti, which I haven't done any Yeti yet, and then coming
Uh-huh.
down and the Bigfoot is down in the forest, and then then there'd be Mothman and then the Frogman. So kind of fitting in, it would be a really, really, really big one though. and just kind of having this whole
Jeez.
swath of coming down from the mountains all the way down through all the cryptids.
That's almost like a museum piece, really.
Right. Yeah. It would
Yeah.
be really big.
Yeah.
So I don't know when I would do that, but that's my big one that I really want to do right after
Man,
Skin. So
like, I don't know if you've gotten a chance to go out there yet, but like that would fit right in the International Cryptozoology Museum in Portland, Maine. Like, if you
been
ever
out
get
to
out
where?
there, the International Cryptozoology Maine
Oh
Museum
no,
with Lauren Coleman in
no, I
Portland,
haven't.
Maine. Oh, if you ever get back out to New England, check that out. It's very cool.
Okay,
But
I've
they have a
never been
lot
to
of
that
like
part of
really
the
cool stuff.
world, but I would love to.
Good.
So
Yeah.
good to
Oh,
know.
it's so cool. Yeah. Um, Man, very, very cool. Let me check out my questions real
Sure.
quick. So, do. Oh, let's talk. So this is from Mothboy Matt. One, I'm just going to read it. One, how did you get so dope?
I was born
So,
this way.
okay. Yep. Good answer. What is your favorite cryptid paranormal flick?
Cryptid oh my God. Paranormal. God, I would have to go with Signs.
Oh, I
Um,
love it. Yeah, totally.
it just freaked me out, and it was the sounds, of
Mm-hmm.
the aliens on the roof and stuff, and I'll just never forget how much that movie freaked me out, and I just
Mm,
love that because it's rare that I get scared nowadays. I mean, I know the movie came out a while ago, but yeah, Signs, I have to put that one up there as one of my favorite paranormal ones.
that's a good
Um,
one.
yeah, yeah. Oh,
I like it.
and then the other one, another alien one is, I think it's The Fourth Kind, based on
Okay.
the real abductions in Alaska, I believe.
Mm.
That one was really freaky too because they incorporated real footage into the movie,
Oh, really? I'll have to
which
check
was
that one out.
really, yeah, that one was
Yeah.
really, really interesting. I like that one too.
Yes, Signs was cool because it was more like it's one of those ones where it's like the tension builds up so
Right.
much.
Yeah.
It's like the movie. I remember watching the movie Contact. I don't
Oh,
know,
sure.
and like that gets very tension filled. You're like,
Yeah.
oh, at the end. Oh,
That
sorry, I
was
was about to spoil Contact for someone. Watch Contact. At the end, you won't be suspecting what'll happen, and then it will happen. But it's a great movie. Watch it.
it is. It
Um,
is.
Oh, and Outcast. So this guy, Outcast at Last, who is awesome because he always sends questions. He says, "Love the Frogman figurines." So it sounds
Nice.
like now we know where the
Yep.
Frogman figurines are from.
Mm-hmm.
And he's asking, have you ever checked out the Witch's Ball in Ohio?
I
You
have
could
not.
recreate that. I'm not
No,
familiar with that either, so I'll have to
no.
check it out. That sounds kind of
I
interesting.
have done a couple witch hanging scenes.
Hmm.
One of them actually I sold at CryptidCon,
Okay.
but I have another one that I haven't. That's downstairs. But yeah, that's interesting too, the witch hangings. But no, I haven't been there. I haven't heard of it actually. So I'm sure it's cool.
Very cool. Very cool. Um, I always find it's interesting how how our parents affected us when we've grown up.
Hmm.
So you're saying that your father was the one who was introducing you to things of high strangeness?
Well, I wouldn't say. Well, I guess UFO movies like Close Encounters. He always liked those
Okay.
movies. Um, E.T., which actually gave me
Oh yeah.
nightmares. I was little,
Oh,
but yeah, I
that's
guess I
funny.
guess yeah, I would say more him. And he was the one that always took my brother and I out exploring into the woods and stuff.
Ah,
Yeah.
what kind of things would you guys go looking out for?
But, just explore. We build forts.
Oh,
There
nice.
was a time we were going for a little hike, and we swear it wasn't there when we were first walking, but when we were coming back, we just called meteor because we don't know how else to explain it, but it's the most dense, solid, black, sparkly rock that we've ever
What?
seen. And it was super heavy. And my dad's like, that was not there when we came through the first time.
Ooh,
So
yikes.
we took it. We took it. He actually still has it. And this was over 20 years ago.
Really?
But yeah, it's just, we called a meteor because we're like, it has to be a meteor. I mean, just look at it. We've never
Yeah.
seen it like that before. So that was probably the most memorable thing that I remember us actually finding out when we were exploring. But
That
we
is
had so
cool.
much fun. You know, we always had so much fun doing that.
Yeah. Loved, we did a lot of, so I grew up in New England. We did a lot of tracking,
Cool.
stuff like that. And
Mm-hmm.
we always would, let's see, you have some pretty big animals up in Wisconsin. We would get moose in our area.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Yeah,
Those
we had
are
a
big.
moose come through our camp once, and my dad ran after it with his shoes off, trying to get a picture of it. And like, I don't know if you've ever seen a moose, but moose can hustle. And it
Yeah,
was
I've
long gone.
they're huge. On the
Yeah,
few
you don't mess with
times
them.
on my trips I have, not around here. But yeah, those are big creatures.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that's awesome. That's awesome. Um, if you were, let's see, so you've traveled around the U.S. Have you ever gotten to go to any like cryptid museums? You ever been to visit like the Mothman Museum or anything cool like that? Or
Not the Mothman, but we did go to Roswell a few years
oh,
ago.
really?
Yeah, and that was really fun. Actually, one of our boy cat is named Roswell. But yeah, we went out to Roswell and we went to the museum there, which was pretty cool. Got to hang out with the aliens for a little while.
Nice.
We actually went to, I think it was on the same trip, we went to the White Sand Dunes. And of course, that was the area where Snippy the horse, the first documented animal mutilation in the 60s. I don't know if you heard of Snippy.
No, do you mind sharing? Because I am, yeah, I'm not
No,
familiar with that.
from my limited memory.
Okay, go ahead.
So Snippy, her real name was Lady, and I think it was in 1967. She was discovered when a farmer. She didn't come back for a few days, so the farmer went to look, and here she was laying on her left side, and her neck, I think from her neck up, her whole head was stripped of skin, and it was like
Oh, wow.
bleached white as if she'd been out there for years. Um, her some of her organs were missing, and her stomach was filled with white powder, and there was some kind of indent, like 6 indentations around her body, as if something landed and above her and dropped her off.
Okay.
There was a really bad smell surrounding her body, and one of the ranchers, it was a female, I think she touched the mane of Snippy or some part of Snippy, and it burned her hand.
Oh,
And
wow.
there was a radio, what is that word I'm looking for? Radiation. Yeah, radiation. That's
Yep.
the word.
Yep.
Around her too. And in that area, there's supposedly, I think it was the night before, there was something spotted in the sky, UFO. So yeah, I've actually done a few ones around Snippy the horse, but she was the first documented animal mutilation. And when we went out to White Sand Dunes and the Great Sand Dunes, that's the area that she lived near the Great Sand Dunes, out in that area in Colorado. I think it's the border of Colorado and New Mexico.
Is that like the Four Corners area, right?
No, I think it's actually when you cross right up into Colorado. I want to say that's the Great Sand Dunes, like it's right over the border into Colorado.
Interesting.
So yeah, I didn't see anything, unfortunately. I did see my first like military drone, because there's a military base out there.
Oh, really?
But it was, yeah,
Man.
but nonetheless, it was really cool, really interesting place. Deceptively big. Like those dunes at the Great Sand Dunes the size of them, it's almost like an optical illusion, because you get there, you see the dunes, but then as you're walking them, they never get, like, they keep getting bigger and bigger and bigger. It's like it never ends. As you're walking towards it, oh, I'll reach the top of that in 10 minutes. You're walking and walking. It's a really bizarre experience. It's something you'd have to experience by going there. But yeah, very, very interesting.
That's an area of the U.S. we haven't gotten to check out. And there's so much, like, just from the conversation with you, now I have so much more to check out. I mean, we've done some up in Washington, Pacific Northwest, and then like
Oh, sure.
like Portland area,
Yeah,
which is
beautiful.
beautiful. But yeah, like someday really want to hit the
Hmm.
Roswell stuff, and like
Yeah,
there's some crazy stuff in Colorado and
yeah,
all that stuff. So you're saying that you've actually made dioramas of like cattle mutilations? Is that what
yeah.
you're saying?
Yeah, those I made a number of those. Snippy, I made a
Really?
couple, and just other animal mutilation because it happens to this day, and of course
Yeah. Oh yeah.
there's all high strangeness surrounding these mutilations. So those are fun to make because I get to use the Dremel to drill into the little cows and sheep and stuff, and then add the
Oh my
blood with the.
goodness.
So those are really
Yeah,
fun because I
you
really get
would,
to
wouldn't you? Yeah,
get
that's
in.
funny.
It's pretty awesome, yeah. So those are really fun. In fact, my Skinwalker one, I'm going to throw a little surprise in there for the owner of a little mutilation. So,
Well, I was actually I was getting back to that because I was like,
oh,
I
yeah,
wonder if she's like,
yeah.
there's a lot of different ways you could go with the Skinwalker one,
Yes,
depending on how you view Skinwalker Ranch.
right, right. Absolutely.
Yeah, there's, oh man, you could go like, you got mutilations. There's some where it's like there's seeing Bigfoot-like creatures in
Yeah,
portals. Uh,
yeah.
there's then there's the whole everything that's been taken out of the newer TV series,
Mm-hmm.
stuff from that. Um, I don't know if you watched that at all. It's very interesting. Um, the whole the whole thing of Skinwalker Ranch because it's
Yeah.
like it starts out with like your George Knapp stuff
Mm-hmm.
and the Bigelow stuff, which is like very intense, and then you could go into like Jeremy Corbell's documentary, which is super
Yep.
intense, and
Awesome.
it's
Yeah.
like then at the end you're shown like this is the new owner of Skinwalker Ranch. You're like, oh, maybe someday we'll be able to see him. And then
Yeah.
it's like then like what 2 or 3 years later it's like then the show comes out on like the
Mm-hmm.
History Channel, and it's like so I like the show, but the way that it's filmed it's like it's a it feels like a reality TV show, right?
Yeah.
But like I mean being able to see like the grounds and everything, super
Mm-hmm.
cool.
Oh yeah. I would so
Yeah.
love to go out there. I wish there was a way that I could just go explore. I'm sure there's tons of people that would love to, but oh, I would love to get my feet on the ground there. That would be great.
What you need to like utilize. Hmm. You could be
How
sneaky.
would
You
they
could
do
be
that?
like, maybe I can make like a model and then
Yeah,
send it to one of the guys.
like
And
lure
then,
them. Like, look at this cool thing I made for you. Now let
yeah,
me walk on
yeah,
Skinwalker.
yeah, yeah.
Or
Hey,
I'm doing
hey,
research for
dragon. Yeah.
you know.
Personally, I don't know. Like, I would have to really think before going on the grounds because
Yeah,
there's some weird. I think it's like weird radiation stuff. I don't know. What do you think? Like,
but
there's
that's why
guys that get messed up. You know.
I I don't know. I think that Skinwalker is a thin area
Mm.
where other, I'll just say, dimensions can come through just because the area is thin. Um, Hence the portals people have seen and all that crazy stuff. But yeah, I think it's a thin area, and I think there are areas like that all over that we may not even know about. I know Arizona. There's
Totally.
places that are like that too. But yeah, I think it's just one of those special areas. And who knows? Maybe it's because of the Native American tribes that live there. I don't know. Maybe rituals. I have no idea, but I just think it's a thin area, and that's where things can come and go kind of as they please.
So let's let's say we have listeners that right now they're like, whoa, what's up with this? This isn't like I'm confused right now. So so you're referring to like window areas, right?
Sure. Yeah.
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 Like you're I believe that would be like John Keel referenced to a lot of that.
Mhm.
And so in certain areas of the US, the world, the thought is that you can see more, more Bigfoot or more UFOs, things of that nature, correct?
Right. Right. Correct. Yep. And
You
I'm
know,
sure some people think it's because of the energy there or whatever. I don't know about that, but yeah, just special areas, and maybe it is energy vortexes. I wish I knew.
it's very interesting. And
It is.
are you have you ever looked into like your I've always find it interesting. You've got the ley lines, the ley line
Oh
maps.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I wish
Yeah.
there was a map where it's like this is the 100% accurate ley line map
Right.
that you
Yeah,
could go
that'd be
through.
great.
You know.
Yeah. But yeah, that could be part of it too,
Yeah.
energy. Everything is made of energy,
Hmm.
and I think that's what it boils down to.
Have you ever looked to see if there's ley lines that go near your area in Wisconsin?
I haven't. I haven't.
You should check it out.
I should. That's a good
Yeah, it's
idea.
very interesting. I've done that with Iowa, and it's
Yeah.
not really the area I'm in, but the areas that they supposedly go through are very like, oh yeah. I mean, just the stories you hear about those areas, that totally makes
Sure.
sense. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah. I'll have to
crazy.
look that up.
What is your what's your favorite when you think of high strangeness?
Hmm.
What are your like your top stories that you like to, let's say someone didn't really know what high strangeness was.
Oh, that's a good question. Um, well, Skinwalker would definitely be probably something I would mention just because
Yeah.
of pretty much everything you can think of strange happens there.
Oh yeah.
Um, but yeah, I guess the whole cryptid world, that's high strangeness, Bigfoot,
Hmm.
um, all the cryptids, UFOs, all that stuff. But Skinwalker would definitely be up there. Skinwalker is one of my favorite subjects. I just love it. I'm so fascinated by it.
It's so weird how it is a subject that once you go down that rabbit hole,
Hmm.
it takes you in like crazy.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
Um, Man, I remember the first time I heard someone talking about it, I was like, what are you
Yeah.
talking about, buddy?
Hmm.
And then it's like, then you start seeing connections all along the way,
Right.
like Bigelow Airspace and New York Times
Hmm.
article. And you're like, oh my goodness,
Yeah.
what is going on with the whole the whole disclosure thing?
Hmm. Yeah, that's
Uh,
interesting too.
my goodness. I'm going to have, do you know, have you ever heard Ryan Sprague from Somewhere in
Oh
the
yeah,
Skies?
sure. Somewhere in the
Yeah,
skies.
I'm gonna interview him next week, and
Awesome.
that's going to be a fun interview because he's mainly a
Yeah.
UFO guy,
Right.
but I really want to chat with him about disclosure
Hmm.
and if he's heard anything coming out of that disclosureness that also applies to like your Bigfoots and stuff. I've kind
Right.
of looked into it, but I haven't really like spent the hours to really, dive
Yeah.
deep. But I've gotten that question from a few other people to ask him too, so it'd be kind of interesting to see what he comes up with.
Oh,
But
for sure.
yeah,
Yeah, that would be good.
his stuff is fun to listen to.
Hmm.
But um, let me think real quick. I'm gonna look through my question list again. Awesome, cool. Uh, so what would be how do you like people keeping up to date with your work? Like if your social medias and all that good stuff.
Um, I would say first would be Instagram, and
Okay.
then because I try to, I'm working on dioramas regularly, so I try to keep that fresh and post at least once a week.
Hmm.
Facebook, I do too, probably a little less, just because I've noticed that I don't, it doesn't get in front of as many people when I post on Facebook. I'll still do it, but yeah, Instagram for sure would be
Okay.
the most up to date.
Awesome. So you've got the Instagram, and then of course your main storefront is on your Etsy, right?
Yes, yep, and it's all under Strange Little Lands, whether it's Facebook, Instagram,
Cool.
or my Etsy shop. Yeah.
Cool. Cool. And let's say that someone is really like, oh man, she does commissions. She can make a
Hmm.
specific piece for that. Are instructions on that on your Etsy, or should they contact you directly, or what's usually the protocol with
Contact
that?
me directly. In fact, on my
Okay.
Etsy page, I have a little blurb that says if you don't see a piece that you'd be curious about, any cryptid or UFO or whatever, just to
Okay.
shoot me a message and we can go from there.
That is awesome. That is
Yeah.
awesome. I have loved taking the time chatting with you tonight, Koko, and just getting the behind the scenes stuff.
Yeah.
I've always
Fun.
been a fan of dioramas since I was a little kid.
Mhm.
There's this place in Massachusetts called the Quabbin Reservoir, and they had a museum of dioramas about how they would, harvest the forests. And like, it was just so cool
Oh,
seeing
sure.
those little dudes and it feeling like you're big,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's,
Those are
it's a
great.
cool thing.
Hmm.
But thank you so much for coming on
You're welcome. Thank
the
you.
podcast tonight. I would hope that all my listeners will go ahead and check out your Instagram and Etsy and just be blown away by how cool it is. It'll be in the show notes, your links as well. Koko is going to spend a few minutes after. We're going to have, Bigfoot Society After Dark extra story time if you want to hear that. Patreon.com / Bigfoot or / Bigfoot Society. And you can hear the extra episodes for $5 a month. But at this time, thanks for coming on, Koko.
Yeah.
And we're
Thank you.
going
It
to,
was so much fun. I appreciate it. And
awesome.
thanks for listening, everybody.